Get on the train, Frog. We're gonna save a cyborg and a freaky multi-limbed woman from a cat man, potentially taking orders from an elephant on a nightless island. God, I love One Piece.
Boop-a-doop-a-doop-boo. Boo. 3.5, not a real season. 3.5, but still king of the what? Now 3.5. Gonna watch some pirates. 3.5 before season 4.
Start the show!
Hello, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, or fellow inhabitants of Sniper Island, and welcome to episode 77 of King of the What Now. We are a One Piece review podcast starting from the very beginning. We're reviewing the anime, not the manga. And I'm your host, Joel, longtime fan of the series, and also, I am both the director of the Sogeking theme song and the main composer for that song.
My gosh, that's my favorite theme song I've ever heard. Could you sing it for us now from memory?
I know Whether You're a Man or a Mouse. Lock on! And I know the do-loo-loo-loo, do-loo, but I don't know all of the words, I wouldn't
was hoping
say.
you'd give it your best shot from the beginning. That's okay. Who else do we have with us here?
Yes, this is Curtis, your co-host, and I have locked on to your hearts, listeners.
Yes, and you may have been expecting Cat, but I am Podcast King, hailing from Podcast Island.
Where is that?
It is in your heart, citizen.
I see. I was wondering if maybe it would be in my ear holes, but heart makes just as much sense. You know, they're connected.
Let's try not to say holes on the podcast.
Don't want to trigger anybody's fears.
Exactly.
That's not a laughing matter. I'm sorry. People's trypophobia is valid. I'm laughing at the juxtaposition of holes, and I'm rambling. We can cut all this out. It's fine.
No, the moment that you say we can cut all this out, it by law it must stay in. That's how it works, by the way.
All right.
Okay, folks. So before we go into discussing the episodes that we just got into, and before we succinctly summarize, there's two little quick things that I wanted to get out of the way before I forgot. The first is regarding a matter that has been much debated on Twitter recently. I don't know about debated, but I've seen it cropping up, and I just want to add my voice to the ocean. The One Piece manga and all those other ones, Black Clover and My Hero and I'm totally blanking, Promised Neverland, Dr. Stone, they come out for free in the Weekly Shonen Jump app. Or there's the other one, I think it's a Manga Plus app. And whether you're in the States or somewhere else, anywhere else in the world, completely free for all English speakers.
Officially
translated, officially releases same time in the States, in Britain, in Peru, in Uganda, in Russia, as it does in Japan. So please, if you're listening to this, I know that there's a chance that I won't be able to sway you. I won't be able to convince you. People smarter and better articulated than I have tackled this issue. But please, don't read the scans. And if you do read the scans, which don't do that, but if you do, just don't post them on social media until the actual chapter is out.
Yeah, hey man, if the reason you are still reading scans is that you're afraid of being spoiled, and then you post spoilers, you're perpetuating the problem. If we all make a pact to not post spoilers, then nobody needs to read scans. It's easy.
Yes. So Curtis, I think I briefly mentioned this to you in a real life conversation off mic, but the last two chapters of One Piece, as of this recording, it'll be a few weeks later when this episode is actually produced and people are listening to it, but two of the One Piece chapters were trending worldwide on Twitter 2 days before they were legally available to read. It was like the the manga Twitters, or whatever you want to call those people, were kind of like advertising that they were illegally reading this thing before it was officially out.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. The other thing, on a really quick note, one of the chapters that was hyped up, everyone's like, oh my god, I can't stop raving about this chapter. It was average. It wasn't a special chapter. People just lost their minds over nothing, basically.
It had kind of a cool montage where you got to see what everybody was doing across the island.
Yeah, and you can't forget that Zoro nude shot that showed his butt just like right in the reader's face.
Bare Zoro butt cheeks. You've heard of 3 sword style, now get ready for 2 cheek style coming at you live.
I thought you were going to say 3 cheek style. I was like, what the hell?
Zoro has a 3rd butt cheek. It's his darkest shade.
Yeah. So anyways, I know a lot of people who read scans aren't going to necessarily be swayed by a podcaster, but I don't know, it personally irks me, and I read the manga with my wife, and when I come home and we're getting to the part where you find out that Zoro used his fingernail as a sword, like, that's cool, but if I already know it's coming, it takes a little bit of the fun out of it, so just don't spoil the fun, everyone. The second point that I wanted to get to, and this is actually kind of fun. Curtis, can you hear that in the distance, that sound?
I don't know. What is it?
It's the sound of an approaching bus, and I must apologize because I'm about to throw you under it. So peek behind the curtain, everyone. You know, we try to record once a week, but every once in a while we can take a week off because we are now uploading our episodes bi-weekly. So Curtis comes to me a little while ago, and I go, hey, this episode that we're going to do, it's going to be a long episode. It's going to be all the episodes on the train, right? I told him that ahead of time, and he goes, okay, well, what if we just took like a week off or 2 weeks off, and I could use that extra time to watch the extra episodes? And I thought that sounded great. But my buddy Curtis comes to me a couple of days ago, this weekend, and it's near the... Anyways, it doesn't matter. Less than a week ago, and he goes, I haven't watched any of those episodes. And my friend Curtis, not only did he watch more episodes than usual, oh no, he did even better. He watched an extra episode that we didn't ask him to watch for this episode of the podcast, which thus proves that he can do anything so long as he sets his mind to. Next episode, we're going to review 50 episodes of the anime. No, not really. We're not going to do that, but...
We could just do all of Ennie's Lobby, though. Ennie's Lobby is short.
What? They're only like 600-ish episodes until we catch up. We'll just do all of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
The whole episode will be my succinct summary.
And even then, we'll have to cut you off halfway through.
Curtis, that's not succinct. You have to slow down. No, but, and then the guy, and then with the sword. Yes, Curtis, we know.
And the 3rd butt cheek. That was trending. So this is not related to our podcast at all, but there's another podcast called Two in the Think Tank, where every episode they do, I think it's 5 short skits. But for their 200th episode, which was just a couple of weeks ago, they decided they were going to do 200 skits in a single episode, and it went for 12 hours. So when you were saying, like, Curtis' succinct summary, all I could think of was a 12-hour podcast. And then Zoro cut a guy. It was just as cool as the last 57 times. Can I please go? No!
Yeah, that'd be a little extreme. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that level of...
podcasting?
Well, I was going to say One Piece... ingestion?
Okay, I see.
What is it when you... Viewing, I guess. Viewing is what you do with your eyes, not ingesting.
Yeah.
Ingesting or consuming is fine. Okay, I would even take absorbing through your eye holes.
I think when Joel and I were going through this, for my first time going through One Piece, I think my limit was about 4 episodes a day. I think I got to that point and I was like, all right, I need to process this shonen that I am consuming.
And that's still a lot. That's like, like what, like 5% of your day?
There was a period of time where literally the only show we watched was One Piece.
I really wanted her to catch up. She got to the part where the show really started, and you're about to get there yourself, Curtis.
Joel, you've told me this multiple times, that I've gotten to the point where One Piece started. First we exited the East Blue and got to the Grand Line, and that's where One Piece started.
Yep.
Then we got to Alabasta, and that's where One Piece started.
Absolutely, yes, it was.
And then they punched God in the face, and that's where One Piece started.
I mean, honestly, depending on who you ask, God getting punched in the face is actually the lull kind of in between the two false starts of One Piece.
I'm just pulling out miles.
I know.
I don't remember exactly where you said these things.
Anytime something cool happens, that is where One Piece officially starts.
I mean, more or less, yeah. To be fair, the points that I would say One Piece started, they actually are distinct points in the series, I would say. The first one is when they all walk to Arlong Park, which is kind of the first time that they walk as a team. Then it started when they went up Reverse Mountain, because that's when they got to the Grand Line, and then Crocodile was like the first real big bad boss. So, Yeah, those are the 3 times that One Piece started, and we're about to get to the 4th time that One Piece started.
260 something episodes in, I've been waiting for this show to start already.
All right, folks. So we just finished watching all of the train episodes 255 through 263. I don't know if this episode will be extra long, but I can tell you that we have a lot to discuss. So let's get into the succinct summary.
There was a train, some people punching. It's a Sanji, Robin, Sam.
Noodles! Nose noodles!
Gross!
Centaurs!
No more nose noodles. I'm happy that... Wait, Joel.
What?
No more nose noodles, right?
I don't know, maybe. Maybe this will start a trend of Sanji fighting different opponents that shoot things out of their nose, only to culminate in a 5-part episode where they combine their powers and create a mecha from their nostrils.
They make the ultimate ramen bowl. This guy shoots eggs out of his nose, and this guy shoots pieces of bacon. Curtis, take us away. Explain to our listeners what the heck we're talking about.
Okay, well, that's going to be a ways into my succinct summary, which is not a good sign to begin with. So, we start off with the Straw Hats, who are now determined to follow Robin and save her before she gets to Eni's lobby, which is the gateway to the hub of the world government. With no ship, they instead take an old prototype sea train that's called a Rocket Man, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. They depart, taking the Frankie family and a group of Galilov foremen with them. En route, they run into a large wave that threatens to derail them, but luckily, Luffy and Zoro bore a hole through the water using a Gum 300-pound cannon. Which
was totally wicked!
No, it was awesome, but also, water tunnel? Anyways, on the Puffing Tom, so the other train, Sanji learns the truth about Robin's betrayal and decides to attack the rest of the Marines on board. Frankie decides to help him, but Usopp walks away as he is no longer a member of the Straw Hats. But wait, what's that? Appearing from the darkness.
Do la 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 la.
Through the rain, walking forth from the rear of the train, a masked man, long nose protruding and attacking the Marines without restraint. That's right, it's the one and only Sogeking. Lulu la la loo.
So good. Oh my gosh, I think we can all just agree that he's the real protagonist of the series, and Luffy just needs to step aside and give up his time in the spotlight.
That's actually why this is where One Piece really starts, is because the main character is finally here.
That's what I figured.
Let me really quickly interject as well. I know that in the dub he is known as Sniper King, but I watched the subs for so long that I can't call him anything else. I will forgive Curtis or Kat or any of our listeners who call him that, but it's Sogeking for me.
Yeah, because I mean, like, the subtitles call him Soga, too. So
exactly.
I didn't even know about the Sniper King thing until you told me. Kat, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say I like the way Sogeking sounds.
Yes,
but also his voice actor in the dub did a really, really good job with the Sogeking Usopp.
Yeah, he brings out his All Might voice, and I believe that his name is Sonny Strait. I'm really bad at voice actors, but I believe that's him.
I'll have to go listen to the dub one. But for now, back to the succinct summary. So, Sanji, Frankie, and Sogeking begin their assault on the train, starting by detaching several cars with a number of Marines inside. On their way to the front of the train, they face and defeat a noodle chef in a ramen mech suit and a Weasel Man.
Yes.
Because One Piece. Back on Rocket Man, the group there encounters the cars that were detached from the Puffing Tom earlier. Zoro cuts them in half to get them out of the way, and then proceeds to defeat their captain T-Bone, who is on the tracks further ahead.
And is not a steak.
No, he's not a steak.
His name is a little misleading.
It is. Luffy should have been disappointed given the name, but I guess he didn't know the name, so meh. Okay, so now back on the Puffing Tom. The Straw Hats there finally face the stronger members of CP9. Sogeking throws a smoke bomb to help them escape, but Robin is resisting. Frankie ends up on the car or in the car with CP9, while the other three float away on a newly detached train car. But Bluno opens a door in thin air and leaves with Robin back onto the rest of the train. Robin and Frankie arrive at Eni's lobby with CP9. Meanwhile, Luffy and Rocket Man have been separated from the Frankie family thanks to Yokozuna, the big giant frog. They're both still on their way to Eni's lobby, but are currently separated.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been your succinct summary.
All right, everyone. Let's just get one thing out of the way. Hacks. That door power is hacks. Are you kidding me? Like, what the heck? Can he walk anywhere?
My headcanon is that he can only go places that he's been. Because
Okay.
otherwise, like, yeah, he could go anywhere. He could go inside the fudging world government official's bathroom and be like, hello, I'm Bluno.
I mean, what?
He could open a world open a door to the center of the world and release a bunch of magma, right? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, he could open the door to your heart. All of those feelings that you've been locking up in there would come pouring out.
that's how you get to Sniper Island.
That's why they introduced Bluno at this point and not earlier or later. I don't know. I also... This is just kind of stupid, but, like, the door disappeared as soon as it closed, but, like, does it automatically disappear, or is it because Bluno closed it? Like, if you jumped in the door and you closed it, would you be trapped in that netherworld until he let you out?
I was going to ask that too. Like, so let's say Bluno is leaving through his door, right? And you jump in at the last minute. If the door closes and you're in there, but Bluno is wherever he went, like, where are you?
So anyways, that's, I just wanted to get that out of the way. What did you think of these episodes, Mr. Casual?
Nice save.
I usually, like, am mocking you internally whenever you forget your title. I'm like, how could you forget? It's casual. But the one time I had to be the one to come up with it, I'm like, I don't remember. I didn't study for this test. Why am I in my underwear? Oh, because it's a podcast. That's right.
Oh, it's times like these that I'm happy we're doing this remotely. So I liked most of them. I don't know. It was actually pretty good. It was good pacing. It didn't feel like 9 episodes, right? Like, even though when I looked back on it, each episode didn't necessarily have a ton going on within it, but it was still like paced quickly enough that it didn't feel like it was dragging.
Absolutely.
And I enjoyed the fights. They definitely leaned hard on the Zoro is a monster strong person.
Absolutely. I almost feel like this is his training arc. Like, no one ever looks at the camera and says it explicitly, but I feel like he's trying to test himself. Like, can I defeat this man in a single sword stroke? Can I cut through the waves? Can I cut this rail car?
And we also got, like, some indication at how strong Sanji is, and also a potential, like, weakness for the CP9 folks. There was a part when he kicked one of the CP9 people, and their iron body almost gave out. So it was like an indication he's almost strong enough to penetrate their defenses, but maybe isn't yet, but perhaps could be.
Exactly. Yeah, he just needs to do a couple more weight lifts with his feet where he puts a dumbbell on his foot and he lifts it a couple of times.
He actually takes up ballet because he's heard that's great for leg strength. Bon Clay inspired him. Zoro was so cool in these episodes, though. I just need to throw that out there right now. I loved how the Frankie family and, like, Chopper were taking turns pretending to be different parts of his attacks.
Oh, yes. I wanted to be the wave. No, I get to be the wave. No, I wanted to be the one doing the slash attack.
Children.
Okay, so 2 quick notes from my take on the Zoro stuff. Firstly, the attack that he used to split the car in front of him was actually his lion song draw that he used to defeat Mr. One, but with 2 swords. It was the 2-sword style, quick sword draw, instant cut, and it was called Rashomon. I don't know if that means anything. I didn't look it up because we are a professional podcast. But it's interesting to note that he used 1 sword on Mr. One, and this time he used 2. It's also an echo of that time that Mihawk cut a giant battleship, although obviously the car is much smaller than the ship that Mihawk cut. But I'm almost wondering if that's a deliberate parallel to show us that Zoro has come a long way on his journey. Secondly, and I did this math on Twitter, and no one seemed to appreciate it, but that's okay. So we know that Zoro's 3-sword caliber cannon is 108 pounds. So if he and Luffy were equal strength, they would have done 216. But instead, they did 300, which means that Luffy did an extra, 82 on top of that? No, 84, I'm sorry. And if you take 84 over 108, okay, so let's see, they're both divisible by 4, so you get 21 over 27. Those are both divisible by 3, so you get 7/9. Luffy is almost twice as strong as Zoro. He is 0.777777, repeating infinity times stronger than Zoro.
Okay, so here's my question.
Yeah.
Do you remember in My Hero Academia, in the first battle against Anomu, when they were like, wow, every one of All Might's punches is more than 100% of his power?
Yeah.
And somebody wrote in to Horikoshi and they said, is that actually possible? And he said, no, I just thought the number would sound cool. Do you think that Luffy is actually that much stronger than Zoro, or do you think that he just wanted the number to sound cool and the attack was as strong as it would have been if it was whatever the actual number was?
No, I believe in the sacred texts of anime. Once you have named your attack, that name lives on in infamy. But it also... It's a double-edged sword. So you might be thinking, oh, why don't I just throw a punch and call it Super Megaton Punch? But if you're a true shonen protagonist, you can't lie about your attack. You actually have an internal gauge, and you have to listen to it before you unleash that attack.
But no, Joel, I do think that Luffy is stronger than Zoro. I don't know if I would put him at a lot stronger than Zoro, but I could see him making up the difference.
Complete joking aside, I think that in terms of physical strength, Zoro is stronger, but I think in terms of battle, ability, adaptability, I'd give that to Luffy. Yes, he's very flexible. And
I was giving him the face.
but I also think that in terms of tenacity, I think Luffy squeaks out just a little bit above Zoro, but they're both inhumanly durable.
Okay.
Agreed.
Kurt, do you want to measure in on my math? Mr. Engineer, are you going to round to the nearest, 1/100th?
I was going to say, hey, they rounded up, whatever, I don't care. What's a 50% jump among friends? I guess 30% jump among friends.
Yeah.
I am a psychologist. I've never done math in my life. So
I'm actually kind of on board with
down.
Kat's theory myself.
No, I do mostly agree. It was supposed to be a shit post, but with my words on an audio format. I also love that we've already seen Zoro's cannon attack and Luffy's cannon attack in 2 separate locations, and so when they use them together, you're like, oh, they would have, synergy or whatever.
Also, is it just friendship lasers now? When they work together, they shoot lasers out? Is that what happens?
Curtis.
Yes.
Curtis, do I need to get the pulley out again?
No, I'm just saying that.
I will suspend that disbelief.
I think...
No. That is some disbelief that will not be suspended. You don't get to shoot lasers with your swords and your fists and then drive through a tunnel made of water that doesn't collapse instantly.
Have you ever watched any anime before?
Yes.
Oh man. No, I do kind of agree that it's weird that they can shoot lasers, but I think technically, follow along here, I think Oda would say that it wasn't lasers. Because we've seen sword attacks that cut the ground where they travel, and we've seen Luffy's punches when he uses the cannon, he superheats his fist, that also defies logic. But it at least makes some level of sense. I promise you, the moment that anyone on the crew shoots an actual laser, it will be explicit, everyone will notice it, and all of the boys will go, Sugoi!
And none of the women will be impressed. I actually have a theory.
Okay.
And I think this is a good theory. This is not me shitposting with my mouth. Shit-mouthing? Gross.
Never speak those words again.
Okay. But no, okay. So we know in One Piece that anything and everything and anyone can have a spirit, can have a dream, can have a goal, can have a will. There's the word I was looking for.
Even Kobe can achieve his dreams.
Right.
Kobe.
And what is Kobe but a humble potato? But anything can have a will, right? So what Zoro and Luffy did was they got up on top of this train, and the train already has a will of its own. The train's will is that it is going to go fast, and it is not going to stop. Okay?
You can't slow me down, motherfucker!
So the wave already had to battle the train's will. But then Luffy and Zoro, they looked into the face of this massive wave, and they said, our will is stronger than the will of that wave. And they did their attack, and the wave went, oh shit, their will is stronger than mine. And so it didn't collapse in on them because it was afraid of them.
Okay. I'm game for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, does anyone have any quick notes that they want to cover?
You didn't ask me what I thought of the episodes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Darling wife, what did you think of these episodes?
Well, darling husband, thank you for asking. Okay, so first of all, I did not remember Wanze, or what was the other one?
Nero.
Nero. I wanted to call him Ringo. That's wrong. I didn't remember either of them for some reason, and my One Piece memory is pretty good, so I was really surprised that, like, these very colorful characters didn't stand out to me at all. But I was sitting there and I was watching these episodes and I was like, holy crap, this is hilarious. I really should have remembered this. Particularly Sanji's fight against Wanze, I thought was really memorable because he has a line near the end where he's like, you've committed 3 sins. The first was calling yourself a chef in front of me, and I just lost it. That was so cool. Sanji is the coolest Straw Hat. He's so good at just saying things, and like he holds a cigarette and he's like, yes, I'm a very cool chef, and now I'm gonna kick you. And he used knives. That was awesome. I also just really like trains in media. I like battling through a train. I like mysteries on a train. All of that was good. So, and the Zoro Luffy stuff was fantastic. We'll talk about this a little later when we talk about the fights, but Zoro versus T-Bone literally looked like it was animated the way they would have animated one of their movies. Their animation budget went up just a tiny bit for just that scene. It was amazing.
Absolutely.
All right, now we can do quick hits.
Well, I like these episodes as well, very much so. I've seen some people comment that the train battles feel a little fillery in the grand scheme of Water 7, Enies Lobby, and the train kind of connective tissue. I will say that it goes on a little long compared to some of the more interesting stuff happening in elsewhere. But I do like that Frankie's going to be around for the rest of this arc, it seems like, so we get a chance to see him, fight, and we kind of know what his fighting style is. We already saw that against Luffy, but now we get the centaur form? That's really interesting. Him lying on his back, we now have a weakness for this cyborg man who before seemed to have no weaknesses. I absolutely love Sanji and Frankie's moments together. I took a couple of screenshots and maybe I'll upload them with this episode of just them being two goofy boys, them holding up their, like doing the thumbs up when they manage to connect the train, or when they open the door and they're like, hello to all the guards, and then they closed the door and went up on the roof. Like, it was just so good. And of course, Sogeking really is one of my favorite characters. And listen, everyone makes the joke, right? Who could Sogeking be? I think that joke can only go so far, so I'm going to drop the pretense. It's fascinating to me that Usopp, who is a known liar, finally finds a way to put that to the utmost maximum efficiency. And not only does he find a way to join them and help, he's the mastermind. He managed to get Robin, he tripped up the CP9 members, he gave the speech about you gotta believe in Luffy that almost made Robin change her mind. He is fantastic in these episodes, and I just absolutely love it, and I can't wait to see what kind of hijinks Sogeking gets in when he meets, say, like Luffy, who has not been known to see through disguises, who is known to be an idiot.
Yeah, who easily falls for ruses. No, we've talked on Mike before about how Usopp is at his bravest when he is lying to himself about how brave he is. And so, like you said, this is the ultimate extension of that. He has put on a mask and he has successfully told such a convincing lie that he believes it and he's ready to go. And just him talking about needing to believe in Luffy. Robin has no idea at this point what went down between Usopp and the rest of the crew. She doesn't know that Usopp is no longer a crew member. So to her, he's just wearing a silly mask and being silly. But to him, when he says, no matter what, you can believe in Luffy, he knows that Luffy would fight for him if he hadn't, messed everything up with the duel. And he wants Robin to know that. He doesn't feel any bitterness toward his captain. And I think that's really special.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's a question for you guys.
Yes.
What do you think is going to happen when Sogeking and Usopp finally meet?
Joel, just say we weren't doing that
I
joke.
do it once, just once. I got it out of my system now.
Okay.
It's all gone.
Okay, listen. A lot of times when you have characters with two personalities, and it's not a split personality, I think Usopp knows that Sogeking is just, a mask or whatever. But a lot of times when you have characters that have, like, the two halves of their powers or the two different forms or whatever, there's usually a moment where they have to combine. So I think that Sogeking will reach his max strength when he has taken off half the mask and he combines Usopp's cowardice, I guess, with Sogeking's bravery. The perfect mix.
We will get a scene where Sogeking has been captured, right? And the mask has kind of fallen a little bit, and he's sitting there in a cell, and he's handcuffed, and there's a puddle, and he sees his reflection in the puddle, but the puddle is positioned so that it's reflecting the masked half of his face.
Okay.
So it cuts between the camera on the Usopp half,
right,
talking to the reflection of the Sogeking half and convincing himself to be brave and to manage himself that way.
And then it turns out that the Sogeking that's talking to him is actually the spirit of his dead father, and Usopp has inherited the craziness that kind of runs through the family, and he uncovers the Green Goblin lair, and he suits up, and now he's ready to take his revenge on Spider Luffy.
Yasopp is dead?
Oh, good. I'm so glad you remember his name.
So once he has the goblin suit, that's when he attacks the hobbits, right? And takes his precious back?
Yes,
Okay.
Absolutely. Oh, because of the split personality. Yeah. Okay. Catherine and I were a little like, hang on a second. We're not really familiar with Lord of the Rings. Oh, man.
Were there lords and rings in this movie?
Fantastic. I do have one quick note. When we were watching the fight, so I saw half these episodes dub and half of these episodes subbed because reasons. We ran out of time to watch these together in the evening, so I actually watched them during my lunch break and on the bus to work. But anyways, his English voice actor sounded really familiar, so I was like, could he be Nijama from History's Strongest Disciple? No, he wasn't Nijama from History's Strongest Disciple. Who he was Mother Flippin' Kenichi from History's Strongest Disciple, the main character. And he's also Tokoyami, the bird dude from My Hero with the shadow. And I just gotta say, none of those roles sound like each other. There's certain characters where most of the times when Christopher Sabat is doing a voice, that's Vegeta and Zoro among others, I can usually tell that it's him. But with this guy, his name is Josh Grell, I think, or possibly Josh Grell. I could not tell that it was him in those three roles. So shout out to that guy for being pretty good.
Yay! Good work. I actually really liked Wanze's voice acting.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very easy, especially if you're kind of an anime purist, to find dubbed voices kind of obnoxious, but Wanze is an obnoxious person. Like, it worked so well. I really liked it.
You know who his voice actor, at least in Japanese, reminded me kind of, and his character?
Okay.
The one guy from Sky Island, the Trial of the Balls, that one.
Oh, Satori.
Yes, that one.
I'm pretty sure I wrote down somewhere that he has joined the cast of weird characters along with, Buggy and Gaimon and Satori.
Yep.
Here, let's ask the question that is on everyone's mind. Does Sanji have a future as a facial reconstructive surgeon?
I know. It was amazing. All he had to do was kick him, and he suddenly became beautiful.
He could make so much money kicking beautiful women in the face. Wait, I mean ugly women. He kicks the ugly women in the face and they become beautiful.
Oh my god. That is certainly one take. Imagine him getting actually pretty good at this, right? And he just turns to Zoro and be like, let's see you make a face more beautiful with swords. You can't. All you do is destroy. Oh, man. I also, speaking of Wanze, I gotta ask, it's a question that comes up pretty regularly. How many buggies could Wanze take in a fight with those rollerblades and his ramen shots?
Not a single one.
Not a single
They would
buggy?
just scream at each other. Wanze would fire a thing at him, and Buggy would, like, pop apart, and then Buggy would be like, ha ha, and Buggy would throw a buggy ball, and Wanze would, like, roller skate to the roof, and he'd be like, meh, and they just do that for
Mutually
hours.
assured destruction until they both collapse. Alternatively, though, once Buggy's body parts are caught in the ramen trap, he can't escape. So...
Would he get caught?
I don't know.
Would Kabaji show up on his little unicycle and slice up the nudes?
Oh my god. And can we just take a moment to appreciate that Oda does not often draw explicit attention to the no hands fighting style that Sanji uses. Like, he uses kicks, but never once do you have an opponent that's like, I'm gonna go for his hands, and that's his chef, he's gonna have to protect him. But it's kind of always in the back of your mind, and against Wanze, you're like, how's he going to win? And then he starts chopping the noodles, and you're like, oh my god, is he breaking his rule? He's like, well, since it's food, it doesn't really count.
We are in a kitchen, so really I'm just cooking.
Oh my god. So good. So Curtis, we saw a couple of different fights going on throughout this train battle. We kind of got a moment to shine for most of the different characters. So which fight was most interesting to you? Did you like the Wanze and Sanji? Did you like Nero and Frankie? Did you like T-Bone and Zoro? Or, of course, the ultimate battle of wits, Sogeking pretending to be inside Robin's robe versus Corgi?
I was so confused about what was going on. I was like, how did you think this was going to work?
And it almost fools him, though. He's walking out. Oh, my God.
Let me think. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't like while I enjoyed what Sanji did in the fight with Wanze, I didn't really like either the Sanji or the Frankie fights as a whole. So I might actually give it to Sogeking versus Corgi.
Okay.
I enjoyed the comedy in that bit.
It was pretty good, and I don't think it went on too long. It was almost too long, but I think they managed to find the nice balance right there. And it's also just, it's interesting to see how worked up Corgi gets when he's like, wait, no, I think I smell it. Like, it was some JoJo's level of, like, suspense over something very silly. Mm-hmm. But, so Catherine, I think you already kind of tipped your hand as to which of these fights you liked the best. So why don't you just tell us why it's your favorite? Zoro versus T-Bone.
Well, like I mentioned, the animation was beautiful. I really like T-Bone as a character. Mm-hmm. Watching him, like, rip his cape for even minor wounds on his men. Like, he's a beautiful man, and he wants to help his crew, and he's got a scary face, but that doesn't mean he's a scary person. He's soft inside. And it's so sad that, like, these are the people he's up against, because what can he really do? And then his, I hate crooked men and crooked swordplay, right angle slash. I liked that because that actually really reflects what I kind of view as Zoro's approach to swordsmanship.
Okay.
Like, Zoro doesn't do sneaky, underhanded attacks. Zoro doesn't stab his enemies when they're not looking. Zoro doesn't turn his back on opponents. He's very honorable, so he is not a crooked man. He is not going to fall victim to the right angle slash. And Zoro's speech that he gives before he attacks T-Bone is just real cool.
Absolutely. I did write down 2 quotes. I attributed one to T-Bone, and later I was like, no, those were both Zoro. But his just badass, our destination lies beyond where you stand, so move. Like, oh my god, we only get T-Bone for, like, 2, maybe 3 episodes, and he just oozes character. I love it. The fact that he's running on the train to try to catch up because he was worried so much about the criminal getting out. Like, we love Robin. We don't want her to be captured, but he has a good heart. He's fighting with all of his strength.
Yeah, and when the Rocket Man came through, he was like, "You must have had to go through my men. What did you do to them?" Like, he is everything that a Marine should be.
Yes, very much so. Except for the fact where he lost like a little baby. No, I'm sorry. T-Bone is he's a national treasure.
Hey,
Yeah.
how would you do in a fight against Zoro? You would win because you're incredible and I love you.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. But then the other thing that he says after the battle is, I'm sure your justice is deep too, but we shoulder all sorts of things. And I really like that because an ongoing theme throughout One Piece, and we haven't quite gotten it as much as you will get it in later arcs, but it's just this idea of what is justice and who is right, and does following the law automatically make you a good person, or does being a pirate automatically make you a bad person? And we've already seen plenty of examples for and against that, right? And so it's just kind of like, I'm not going to lose because I'm justice. Yeah, but according to who, you know? You're going to kill a woman who we believe is innocent, even though you think that she's like the worst devil in the world. Mm-hmm. Now, as for me, which fight did I like the best? Sogeking versus Corgi, that's just going to be top 10 tactical battles in anime, right? Zoro's a very badass. T-Bone is a good soldier. Nero and Frankie? That's kind of interesting. I like it because we get to see Frankie's new transformation, centaur form, which doesn't work at all like you would expect it to because his top half is in the back half.
Is the idea just that it makes him more mobile?
I have no idea. I don't know how centaur form could be useful in any situation except for when you want to hold your opponent down and just punch him in the face.
People are terrified of Frankie Crotch just rocketing toward them. They're like, oh no! If the torso is coming with it, that's different. You can do something. But if it's just the crotch, that's terrifying.
Actually, I kind of agree.
Oh my god, or having his legs wrap around you to hold you down. That's not necessarily my idea of a good time. I'm sure there are plenty of people who could enjoy that, but and then the other thing too about Frankie and Nero. By the way, I didn't officially say this was my favorite fight, and it's not. But I like when he's about to transform. He says, "All right, it's time to transform," and it shows the kanji for transform, and then it shows Nero, and it's the kanji for pervert, and he just nods because in the Japanese language, I believe the word for transform and pervert are both I think they're both hentai. And so it's just one of those puns that only really works if you know Japanese. Kind of like how Zoro's attack is called onigiri, which means like demon slash, but it also is a rice ball that's in a triangle shape and he's cutting in a triangle.
Yeah, see, I definitely never got any of those puns.
Yeah, well, and the Frankie one comes up a lot later in the series. He'll be like, okay, it's time to transform, and everybody will yell, but you're already a pervert. So it's a good ongoing joke. I'm glad Joel explained the pun.
Yeah. There's one coming up with Kaku in this Enies Lobby arc that I can't remember if it was fan subs or if it was the manga translation or what, but I just remember someone saying, there are puns here. They are too entrenched in the language for me to translate or explain. So when we get to that part and he's interacting with some other character and they're going back and forth, I'm not going to be able to explain the joke. I'm just going to be like, I guess they're doing wordplay, guys. I have no idea.
Somebody smarter and better at Japanese than us, please message us and do your best to explain. Joel, you mentioned Frankie's legs wrapping around the guy.
Uh-huh.
Robin's favorite mode of attack is to wrap many arms around people.
Oh, no.
So are Frankie and Robin, is this the ultimate ship? Together, would they just be able to make like a mass of limbs?
Well, and
Wrap their enemies?
And consider when Robin creates more body parts, that's more flesh, right? But Frankie is less flesh because he's metal. So in that way, they are counterparts.
God, it's a beautiful ship. Wait, the Straw Hats don't need to replace the Going Merry because they've got a perfectly good ship right here.
You know why it's such a
I'm
good
genuinely
ship?
tickled. Why's that?
Because Frankie trained with the world's best shipwright.
Absolutely. I bet he learned a lot of romance tips from the fish man. Anyways, okay, so I there are things about the Nero Frankie fight that I liked. As a side note, I explicitly remember that's when I started watching the anime, or at least that's when I started getting caught up. Back in the day, we used to have to watch YouTube videos that were cut into thirds of the episodes, and that one, the part where he transformed into a centaur, froze for me. And like, no matter how many times I reloaded it, it wouldn't play. And so I never knew how the fight resolved. I just skipped to the next episode when they're in the train. I'm like, what happened to the Nero guy? I don't know.
Joel, now you know. I mean, you
Now I
probably knew already, but
No,
Yeah.
actually, when he and I watched it together, it also froze and we skipped it. So
Yeah,
it's the first time he's ever seen the end of the fight.
This episode is cursed. No, but I really like the Sanji Wanze fight. I think it's interesting that for the first time in a while, Sanji is explicitly fighting another chef in a kitchen area. I think Mr. 2 had a throwaway line about how he cooks, but I mean, we never saw any of that in his interactions with the Straw Hats, so it kind of doesn't count. So I like that he's fighting another chef for the first time. Wanze oozes character. So many times in filler, we get these stupid characters that are a man that looked like a monkey or something, or like a woman who talks like a man, and like they're obviously trying to emulate Oda's style with these over-the-top characters with these bizarre and strange attributes and weird personality quirks, but they never quite get it. This is peak Oda, Wanze is. The fact that when they made him more beautiful, I don't know if they explicitly said this in the anime or if it was just something that Oda explained to a fan, but Wanze actually despises how he looks when he's pretty. He thinks it looks quote-unquote weird because he's so used to his eyes being like out from his head and like the buck teeth and the giant chin.
Well, and in the dub, as he's attacking Sanji after Sanji makes him beautiful, he explicitly says, "Give me back my individuality."
Yeah, exactly.
So he thinks he looks too much like every other Bishi man out there.
Exactly. And Bishi just means pretty boy for the most part, Curtis, in case you're not familiar with that term.
oh, no, I wasn't.
All right, folks, before we talk too much more about these amazing episodes, it's time for us to go to our world-famous ad segment. Choo-choo! What's that, little Timmy? You hear something approaching in the distance? Why, Timmy, that's the Puffing Tom of Water 7 fame, come here to ferry away to majestic faraway islands, yes. And why don't we ask this cute young stewardess what she thinks of the Water 7 train?
Before the Water 7 train, I thought my family would drown in Agua Laguna. Now I get to go to islands all over this small section of the sea. But it's very nice. We have food on board.
Come to Annie's lobbies and be judged for your crimes! Also, visit the Cocoa Island. They specialize in chocolate.
Yum.
This is also be aware that sometimes there might be frogs that show up and derail the train, but don't worry, it only happens every once in a while.
A frog doing the front crawl. I hope he doesn't think he can get on the train without buying a ticket.
Oh, silly Yokozuna. Buy into capitalism today. Well, he's not. If he got on without paying for the train, he wouldn't be supporting capitalism, as is his frog a given right.
Ah.
How is that not clear? Okay. Warning, side effects of riding on the Puffing Tom include sometimes being attacked by weird, transforming pervert centaur cyborgs, weird masked men shooting at you while humming weird theme songs themselves, and or cars getting attached and then your car getting cut in half by giant swordsmen. Giant swordsmen or just swordsmen with really giant muscles? That's for you to decide.
And now, back to our regularly scheduled podcast.
Absolutely.
Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo.
Boop, boop. The one thing that I will say is that the fight goes on too long with Wanze, just to go back to that really quick.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had a perfectly good segue into another section, but I just had to bring it up. What was the point of his poison sword? He draws this big-ass sword. He's like, I'm going to cut you, and also you're going to be poisoned, and nothing, and Sanji just kicks him in the face, and that's it.
It did feel a little fillery. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if these fights were a lot shorter in the manga.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I do not know. I'm pretty sure that Nero does exist because Frankie getting his moment to shine before Ennie's lobby, like that's pretty important, but I don't know if they were extended or not.
What the heck was up with Nero's face? Was he a cat? Was he an otter? Had he eaten some kind of devil fruit? I don't think so, because it would have come up. What was going on with his face?
He's just a unique design.
No.
I don't know what to tell you.
What? Curtis.
Yes.
What was going on with his face? Explain it to me.
We're talking about Wanze, right?
No, we're talking about the other guy, the Nero guy that Frankie fought.
Nero, the Weasel guy?
Yeah.
Weasel.
Yeah. I mean,
Frankie did call him Weasel.
Yeah, and I think, didn't he say he was the Weasel Man or something like that?
His epithet is Nero the Sea Weasel.
Yeah. I mean, Kat, so I have this winch over here and a pulley. I need you to take your disbelief.
Okay.
And
tie
start
it
to
up.
suspend it.
I wasn't questioning his existence, just, is he human?
Yeah, of course he's human. Same way as Frankie's human. The same way that Chopper is human.
So did he eat
The
a
same
weasel
way that
devil
Zoro
fruit,
is human.
or was he
No.
just born?
He was born like that.
looking especially weaselly.
Do you remember Mary the Lamb Man?
No.
From Kaya's village.
Who is that?
He's the guy who built their ship.
I don't think so.
He's part lamb.
What sort of man would name a ship after himself?
Certainly not I. Now, excuse me as I go to my Curtis yacht.
Let me ride the Puffing Joel to work today. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't sure if this episode was going to go long, and it looks like we are going to go a little bit long. But in the sake of not going for 4 hours, maybe we could try to pick up the pace a little bit. We're getting off the Puffing Tom of exposition, and we're getting on the Rocket Man of exposition. I love the way that they almost rescued Robin. I mean, it's sad that they didn't rescue her, but the way it's set up, it really feels like an almost victory. In the way that, you know, if they just went in, they grabbed Robin, and they got off the train, that was it, there was no resistance, you'd be like, well, that was anticlimactic. They built up the CP7 guys, and they didn't do anything. And so even though this was a failed attempt, and they could have had Bluno just, like, step in and put her away in the anti-dimension or whatever the heck, and they could have ended it right there, they gave them multiple chances to think on their feet and try to, like, get away and put some distance between them, only to be thwarted by some other tactic, right? They did the smoke screen, but then it turned out that Khalifa had her iron whips, okay? Frankie used his head to, like, push the door from their car into the other car so the whips would lose lodging. Bluno could use this door to teleport. And the way Bluno appears behind Sanji with the slow creaking and the, like, indeed, the Buster Call is the problem. It was so well shot. It was like a horror scene, and I loved it so much.
Yeah, I liked that Robin was willing to snap Usopp in half to be like, no, don't hurt Usopp.
I'll break this man if it means saving him.
I'm not resisting. I'm going with you. It's cool. We can go.
It was a really good couple of scenes, and it's really interesting how much effort they're putting into showing the depth of Robin's despair or fear. I don't know exactly what word you'd put on it, but this obstacle is probably more so than just punch that cat man. There might be more to this story than we've gotten.
No, I doubt it.
One Piece is a completely shallow show where no characters have any motivation and no one grows at all.
Yeah. If I may back up just a slight tiny bit. Mm-hmm. So while we were discussing Nero and my disbelief and whether or not it needed to be lifted via the winches and pulleys, I looked him up on the wiki, and apparently he is based off of the Kamai Tachi, which is a demonic weasel that has wind powers. And that's why he has the 3 powers that he does, because they're like speed, agility, and walking
like
on
flight
the wind.
And stuff like that. And the Kamiye, he could do the dodging thing.
So I just thought that was kind of cool that his whole, like, even down to his attacks. Oda's great. I like his character design.
Really quick, very fun fact about the Japanese language. The word for weasel is actually just Itachi, which is very amusing to some of us because that's the name of Sasuke's older brother in Naruto. So someone said something about Itachi, and I was like, the guy from Naruto? And they're like, no, just the word for weasel, man.
Fun fact, actually, Scar from The Lion King. I don't remember what his canon name was.
Was he actually named Itachi in the original?
No.
In the sub version?
No, his actual name was the Swahili word for garbage.
Wow. All these millennials and all these Gen Zers saying that they are garbage and they will never be able to compete with the original king of garbage.
No wonder he grew up to be evil with parents that named him Garbage.
Yeah. On another note, on a more loving note, I love that, we finally found out that Yokozuna, the reason that he gets in front of the train and does the sumo thing is because he is trying to become strong enough to defeat the train. Because he was there when Frankie tried to stop the train, and Yokozuna loved Tom. And so he's been training every day of his life. And Old Lady Kokoro, who has known Yokozuna presumably for his whole life, basically said, oh, you're training for the sake of getting stronger to protect those you love. And as she's delivering that line to Yokozuna, camera zooms in on our good straw hat wearing boy on the front of the Rocket Man, who he's not exactly doing push-ups, but the whole point of him getting stronger by fighting by fighting God and the Sandman and the Spring Boy and the Shark Man. Man, he's fought a lot of weird people. But the whole point is to protect the people that he cares about most. So I really like that directorial decision.
Yes. The framing of the manga panels, but also a lot of the anime shots, has always been very good.
Yes.
Shout out to Grant the Thief for his excellent analyses.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Curtis, what did you think of Enies Lobby? We got a look into that island for the first time today.
Well, let me go get the pulley back again. Okay, so this waterfall.
Yeah.
Where's that water coming from? Is that the ocean?
That's the ocean. Indeed it is.
So where does the water go to? Why does it not just fill up?
It goes down the hole.
But where does the hole go to?
Listen.
It goes down.
Listen. The One Piece world is a donut. We've found the hole at the center.
It's the world's teeny tiniest hole in the world's largest, roundest donut. You know what I'm saying? Like, think of how big that hole is compared to the entire size of the world that we've seen.
You know how when you eat a cream donut, you know how it's always got like the little butthole where the cream squirts out when you take a bite?
Butthole. No, Dad.
Anyway, this is the butthole of the cream
Stop
donut.
calling it that!
Butthole! Donut butthole!
But the water, it should already be full in the middle, so it has to go out the other side too. So
Somebody took a bite already.
yeah, okay. So wait, here's what I'm thinking. Okay.
Okay.
Imagine you take a donut, but instead of being a donut, it's just a giant round like sphere of fried dough, and then you
Okay.
take a straw. And you punch a hole through the middle, and then you say, look, I have created a hole in the middle of this. It is therefore a donut. Well, it does not look like a donut. It now, I believe,
Valid.
matches the description of the planet that you're trying to give me.
Are you saying that there's a hole in the bottom of the sea? There's a hole.
Yes.
I believe that's what I'm hearing from you, my friends.
And
But is there a log in the hole in the bottom
well,
of the sea?
I don't know, but there soon could be a frog on that log in the hole in the bottom of the sea, and his name is Yokozuna.
Perfect. It came full circle. So I'm not going to tell you that, I'm not going to tell you that this mystery never gets solved. But we don't know why the hole's there. There are some people who have some theories, and there's some interesting thoughts out there, and I do agree that it is one of those elements of One Piece that is more fantastical. Why hasn't the hole filled up? My question, why hasn't the ocean drained?
Yes.
If there's this giant hole?
Yes.
But I am willing to wait until the series is concluded before I decide that there is no answer. I don't know if Reverse Mountain has been properly explained. I don't know if the robots on the moon have been properly explained. I don't know if the hole under Enies Lobby has been properly explained, but there's still time for them to do something like in chapter 1000, someone can mention something to Nami, and Nami could go, that's right, and she has a little thought bubble that shows Enies Lobby, because that's how Oda does.
I don't know any of the things that Joel just said he doesn't know, but I do know that now I am hungry for a donut.
Perfect. That is wonderful.
You know the solution to this?
What's that?
Is it for you to bring me a donut next time we record?
Is it flavor dials?
Maybe. It could be flavor dials. You know what else has dials now?
What's that?
Nami's Climb Attack.
Yeah, it's the perfect climatact, which is a bit presumptuous of them. Because I think that means this climatact can never be improved upon, and they haven't gotten anywhere near Raftel.
No, listen, this is wishful thinking on Nami's part. Usopp is off the crew, so he can never improve it past where it is now. So I guess this is it. This is the perfect climatact, because it's never getting better.
Okay.
I am curious to see how it works now, because I could see that improving the efficiency of the climate attack, because now it can generate its like own heat, or it could absorb heat to make cold, or it could put out more moisture or generate wind. It could do all kinds of things now.
I guess so. I actually am having a hard time just trying to focus on what we know about the dials and what we know about our climatact and not trying to use foreknowledge. I don't see how they could add that much of a benefit, but I don't know, maybe one of them's a flame dial, so she'll be creating heat and they're like, oh, she's going to create a thundercloud, and then she just burns them in the face. Maybe that's how it works.
I'm
I
just
don't know.
thinking bigger thunderclouds. Easier to make.
Okay. Oh, maybe she could use a flash dial. I think that's what it was called. In order to blind her opponents temporarily, because she's a very sneaky fighter. She's a very she doesn't fight her opponents head on. So I wonder if she could be flash, and they're like, oh, I can't see, and then she dives behind something, and then her weakness is any enemy that wears sunglasses. Because that's the sort of thing that One Piece does. They'll have characters that are like, I'm wearing sunglasses, it didn't work. And they're like, damn it didn't work.
I hate shaded eyes and shady men.
But speaking of light, though, man, I'm just nailing these segues. Joel, cut that out.
No, don't cut it out. You have to leave it in. That's the law.
That's the law.
That is fairy law. Fairy tale reference.
Oh my god. Okay, but you know what else they said about Eni's lobby that, might require some heavy lifting, some cranes to suspend that disbelief? It's called the Island Without Night. And listen, Catherine and I talked about this off mic, and I understand that it is a metaphor, but sometimes things can be two things. So I really do think that that's not just an empty promise. I don't think they call it the Nightless Island, but actually we have night. I think it showed clouds were in this weird, it had an opening right above the island. So what the hell is God, actual God, a Marine? Do they have him on the payroll? Or her, or them, or it?
If God is a Marine, then pirates are the devil.
Oh my god.
That's what the D stands for.
Ooh. It could just be a giant artificial light. Maybe they built a giant lamp.
But Curtis, this is a show. This is a product of Japan. If there were a giant light, where is Mothra?
That is the question that is on everybody's mind, and they know that they've been tempting fate this whole time. And it's
every day they live in fear of Mothra, the ultimate judgment upon the judicial island.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. All right, so I have one final quote on my list of quotes. I already had the two from Zoro earlier. This one's really interesting from Frankie because, you know how I am about, is this foreshadowing? This sounds like it's very strong foreshadowing. He points out to Robin that both he and Robin are the two keys to resurrecting this ancient weapon, Pluton. Because she has the ability to find the existing one, and he has the blueprints for creating a new one. So it's bad that they were both captured, and also, even if he escaped, he would have to escape with Robin. Great. He's talking about the weapon Pluton, and he says, when that power actually appears in this world, the government will naturally end this pirate era. And listen, that's not going to come up in the next episode. It's not going to come up in the next 10 episodes, but that's just a really interesting idea that the Marines' end goal is to eradicate pirates. Probably not, capture them, because the Pluton is a weapon-destroying ship, or weapon. I think they said it was a ship. It was a battleship, that's right. And so you can't use that to detain people. You can only use that to blow shit up. So I'm hoping that, or I'm predicting that the final arc will in some way involve the resurrection of the ancient weapons at the hands of the Marines or at the hands of someone with even less scruples.
This could also be a form of misleading foreshadowing. like, if Pluton is resurrected, the Marines would use it to end the pirate era. But what if the Marines don't get it? What if the pirates get it? Will they end the Marine era?
Absolutely.
I like that. Frankie and Robin had a really good conversation that was a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. Frankie and Robin are a very common talked about pair, and I don't know if they have the most screen time together, but moments like this really stand out.
I don't know exactly how the conversation went in the sub, but in the dubbed version that I watched, Frankie basically says to Robin that no person is illegal. Nobody is born, good or bad. And he remembers what Tom told him about his ships. And I really like that he's able to empathize with Robin's situation, even though he was in a completely different situation. And he values her as a person, even if other people are saying she's inherently worthless.
Mm-hmm.
Her existence is not a sin.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
But Wanze's existence in front of Sanji is.
Just the ramen suit.
Listen, they're talking about the actual sin of the world, right? The entire world can't judge you for simply existing. They can't decide that you're a monster. But Sanji is one man, and it is within his right to decide that he hates or loves any one particular individual he meets.
Has Sanji ever met another chef and been like, you're a good chef, I respect you, you're committed to your food, good for you, or is it always antagonistic?
Carmen maybe during the filler episode, but I mean,
okay.
she's a pretty lady, so I think that kind of changes his opinion.
He's the Gordon Ramsay of the One Piece world. He's just mean to everyone all the time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Do you see this? This is fucking raw.
Okay, so now let's move into our final discussion question. And Curtis, I'm not expecting you to come up with the canon answer. I'm not expecting you to see the future. But we have quite a gallery of misfits and rogues, right? We had the Golly Law people decide that they wanted to come with Luffy so that they could attack the bastards who betrayed them. And you had the Frankie family, and they're going to save their big bro. And you have Yokozuna, the sumo frog, and you have Kokoro and Chimney and Gonbei. So let me ask this question to you guys. Which of these elements that aren't a part of the Straw Hat crew do you think have the potential to have the biggest impact on the story? Or would be the most interesting to see contribute in some meaningful way?
Curtis, take it away.
I think the Frankie family.
Okay?
Because the Frankie family has been a nuisance for Water 7 for so long. Mm-hmm. I think seeing them contribute in a meaningful way and seeing how that affects the people from Galley-Law who are there would be very interesting.
I cannot wait until it shows the Frankie family slowly demolishing each building, like methodically going through and being able to find the exact weak spot in order to make the water tower fall so it floods the playground or whatever.
I like the idea of the Frankie family following behind the Straw Hats after they leave Ennie's lobby. And, like, anytime the Straw Hats are doing serious island stuff, the Frankie family is just in the background destroying shit. And they're just around for the rest of the series.
They have their own ship that's actually like a mini island, and it's just Party Central. That's actually what the ship is called, Party Central. And anytime things get too tense, the camera just zooms over, and they're, like, sitting on the beach and playing volleyball.
I had a thought when we were talking about the Pluton quote, and then I forgot it, but now I've remembered it. All right, so... Crocodile.
Yeah.
Crocodile wanted Pluton.
Yeah.
Crocodile finds out that the Straw Hats have somebody who has the blueprints for Pluton and somebody who can read those blueprints. And Crocodile's like, aw, shit, I want that. And so he joins the Straw Hat crew. Everybody else is very reluctant about this, by the way. They do not want Sticky Sandman on their ship, but he's there and he's all excited.
Sticky Sandman or Stinky Sandman?
Stinky.
Okay.
He's got the childlike wonder back in his heart, and he's just following Frankie around. And he's like, buddy, can I take a look at them blueprints? Hey, buddy. And Frankie's like, no, Crocodile. And Crocodile just is on the crew now.
Crocodile, do you think that we could build the Pluton? Maybe tomorrow, buddy. Frankie's tired.
So wait, in this scenario,
Yes.
Crocodile is just pure child again, basically.
Yes. He got punched so hard by Luffy that it erased his memories of adulthood. You actually haven't seen Crocodile Conscience since he got punched by the Gum Gum Storm, so you have no idea. He could wake up and he could suddenly have a Shakespearean accent. Luffy, doth thine straw hat before me?
I was just saying that, like, he's excited. He's got the wonder in his heart, but I like where you and Joel took it, so sure, okay.
Okay, so we were on the sea train. We were talking about a discussion question, and then you had a thought, and it just derailed us, like a frog with the sumo power. So now I am going to use my Weather Witch powers and find a current that gets us back on the train tracks. Catherine, if you had to pick between the Frankie family, or the Galley Law people, or Yokozuna and the Chimney Gonbei Kokoro, who do you think would have the most interesting impact?
No, I answered that. I said the Frankie family.
Oh, Curtis said the Frankie family.
Yeah, and then I agreed with him, and I was like, yeah, I want them to follow him around.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with the Galley Law people, because the Frankie family has named members, but I don't know any of the named members. I know Kiwi, Mozu, and I think Zombai is like the number 2.
Egg.
That's right. One of them is named... Is it actually Egg or is it Tamago?
I don't know what his name is.
Okay.
I just know he looks like an egg, so that's what I call him.
You're making me look bad. I'm pretty sure that the Piece Together people know the names of the Frankie family people, or at least Mark does. Anyways, the Frankie family have personalities and they have named members, but they're all kind of the same. They're just kind of like a mob, whereas the Galley Law people are much smaller and much more well-defined. And Kokoro being an old woman and a drunk, and Chimney being a young girl, I don't think they're going to be able to contribute much to the battle side of things. Like, maybe they'll find an air duct that Chimney can crawl inside or something. Maybe. Maybe Kokoro's knowledge will help them in some way, or maybe she can pass off as a citizen. But, like, I'm looking for, like, interesting ways to interact with battles, interesting ways to, like, hurt the CP9 members, interesting ways to infiltrate the, judicial island. And so I think that they could craft all sorts of crazy things in the middle of the battlefield, right? They take up a bunch of scrap metal and they put it together. Now they have, like, a super cannon and they use that to blow down the doors or something, or they...
God, wouldn't the perfect ending for Usopp be that at the end of this arc he joins the Galley Law and he gets to build stuff?
Galley Law or Frankie family? You know what? Let's just assume at the end of this arc that Galley Law and the Frankie family will fuse together into Frankie Law?
Joel.
The Galley family.
No one should ever have the power to create and destroy. It's too much.
Absolutely. And that has been your Final thought. Outro goes here.
No, it goes over there. I'm throwing it. Woo!
All right, everyone, have a great evening, morning, or afternoon, whichever suits your fancy. Next episode of the podcast, we will be covering 5 episodes of the anime. That's 264 through 268. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
So ends the next leg of the King of the What Now adventure. We're sad to see you go, but we'll be here next week. If you crave some social interaction with us in the meantime, you can find us on all sorts of different media. We have Gmail, Patreon, and Tumblr. All of those are KingOfTheWhatPod. KingOfTheWhatPod at gmail.com, patreon.com/KingOfTheWhatPod, KingOfTheWhatPod.tumblr.com. Our Twitter handlers are a little bit different. You can reach me at KOTWN_pod.
And you can contact me, Curtis, at Pirate Co-host.
Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go.
Thanks so much for giving us a listen. Until next time, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, it doesn't need to be literal treasure.